In our last lesson, we successfully completed the foot of the mobile traffic light design. Now what we're going to do is create the structure that is going to provide the lateral bracing to hold that leg in position. So in order to do that, we're going to copy this element up to the top of the central supporting post, and we're going to put a bracing element between the two. We're going to use our copy commands, we're going to use our scaling commands, and we're going to use shear. Okay, to begin with, let's get the lower mounting ring into a new position, and we're going to copy that up the page. So double click on the perspective view, grab the front view by double clicking with the left button of the mouse, and we're just going to copy that up by eye. So transform, left click, copy. Moving it up the surface, make sure ortho is snapped on in the lower section there. You can see it's highlighted, and we're just going to move it up nice and neatly above the post that we've just made. Left click, right click to exit the command, and there we have our top section copied. Double click on the front view, and we'll just move around until we can see that element there. Excellent. Now let's put a point in the middle of that. So in order to do that, we just want to make sure that our snaps are activated and center is ticked in that box there. So in this particular case, we're clicking the point command. We're floating to the middle of that element there, and excellent. So there's a point now that we can anchor off that's at the top edge of that mounting ring. We want to reduce that mounting ring in scale slightly using the 3D scale command. So highlight that ring. Let's just make sure we're on it. That's it. Transform, left click, scroll down to scale 3D. Okay, and now we're going to use the point that we just created as an anchor point. Move on to our front view where we can see it there. We'll just maximize that up a bit, and we're just going to left click a little bit further out from the body there and shrink it down so we've got a lighter sense of structure as we move up the top. Otherwise our design will be top heavy and tend to fall over. Okay, now let's drag that down just by eye. We'll take the point as well, it might be useful. Left click, just drag that up for a moment. We'll just deactivate the points. You'll notice that if you've got points left on when you're dragging, it can buck things out of position. So I tend to switch the point commands off when I'm using drag. Okay, just by eye, I'm just switching it to the top edge there, so it should be just a smidge under 980 millimeters. Excellent, that's looking fine. Now we're just going to scale that element down, the central post down. So transform, left click on scale, scroll down to scale 1D, copy is on no, that's excellent. And we can just again do this by eye at this stage. We're just going to click on near the top of the pipe. Then we're going to pull that up such that it's not sitting on the ground anymore and it's just inside the lower mounting ring. Now we'll repeat that command by right clicking, move up, and we're going to shrink it down inside the mounting ring just slightly. So to about there should be fine at this stage. So if we double click on the front view and go to perspective, you can see it's left a recess inside the pipe. Excellent. Now we need to fabricate the supporting strut down the bottom. So we're going to zoom in on the perspective view and you can see the lower bracket there. If we press the zoom selector command on all four viewports, we've got everything in shot there, and we're going to put a small truncated cone on the top of that bracket there, which is going to provide our hinge point. We're going to dig underneath the pull-out triangle on the cube on the far side there, and we're looking for truncated cone. Make sure our snap commands are back on, and the one we want, we have to dig in just a little bit there. There we go. You can see it's snapped onto the center. It's floating on the edge there, and we're pulling it out to the side. Let's make sure we're on mark here. There we go. Excellent. And you can see if we're on the front view there, if I maximize the front view, I'm just simply dragging that up. There we go, until we've got a slight truncation, and then we're dragging that out the side, and that's going to be the base of our supporting strutting element. That's fine. And now while we're here, we're just going to disable snaps, and that hinge point needs to be repositioned. So I've left clicked and dragged from right to left. You can see the dotted line on screen grabs everything within the crosshairs, and now I'm disabling snaps as it was before, and I'm just manually dragging it across such that I'm centering it on that little truncated cone that we've just made. Okay, double click on front view so we can check it on perspective. Excellent. Now the next thing we need to do is just draw a construction line out from the center there. So we'll just enable snaps again. We're going to draw a single polyline out from the top, far enough out such that we can see it on the front view. It's beyond the line of our bracket, so if we project something up, it'll go nicely to that distance. And we're going to just position it by eye on the midline of that upper ring, supporting ring. That's fine. Double click. Now we're going to come in on top of the perspective element, and we're going to use this top surface section with a fresh command in order to get the supporting strut. So left click on solid, scroll down to extrude surface straight. We select the surface we want. We right click, and you can see we can drag that up. We're going to double click on the perspective view, and then we're just going to drag it up. We're going to activate int on the snaps bar. There you go. And we now have our supporting strut at least vertically placed in position. That's excellent. Now our next step is to mirror this bracket, which we've just modified, to the top of the line. So select, left click, hold down your shift key, scroll from right to left, and you've now grabbed the hinge point and the little truncated cone that we made before, and we're going to use the mirror command. So left click transform, scroll down to mirror, and make sure mid is marked on your snaps command, and then just grab onto that midpoint, drag to the left, and you will notice we've now positioned that bracket up onto the top of the bar as well. Okay, drag from left to right to grab all of that, and we're going to rotate that through 90 degrees. So again, another transform command. So transform left click. This time we're going to use rotate. We're just going to grab from the bottom of the line there. The quad is fine as long as we're staying on the same plane. Left click, drag to the left, right click, and you can see we've now rotated that bracket. Excellent. Now we're just going to manually drag, and as I said before, it's a good idea to disable the snaps when we're doing this drag command because things tend to get grabbed out of the way. And I'm zooming up on the perspective view so I can just see how that marries in, and I'm just zooming in. So with all four viewports on, it's easy for us to check where things position out. So I just want that to marry in neatly. That looks rather good. I need to move it up slightly in order for it to be on the midline. You can see that on the front view. Both the bracket and the midline of the supporting ring are in the correct position. The next thing we need to do is use our shear command in order to swing that into position. So there's the supporting strut that we're now going to move into line. So transform this time, scroll down to the shear command, which is just under the scale command. Keep snaps on again. We'll go to quad this time. Quad's switched on, and that should be fine. We can always check this once we go onto the perspective view. I've dragged up with ortho on, and now I'm switching ortho off, and you can see we're swinging into position, and excellent. There we go. So we double click on the front view to bring up all four viewports. Click on the perspective view to zoom out, and you can see now we now have the upper ring, which has been scaled down using the Scale 3D command. We've duplicated the lower bracket and we've made the supporting strut. So our design is coming along quite nicely. Excellent.